Hi, welcome to another weekly garden update. As you can see, the chickens are out and they just finally started laying. I know it's not gardening, but let's be honest, the chickens are red. I give them water, they get bigger, and then they give me round things to eat. So they're basically tomatoes. Okay, let's get to the plants. So the distance stuff, over there is a peach tree that's, I'm almost certain, has died. Over there, I planted some beans and corn next to the septic sprinkler that has been overtaken by weeds, and I've given up on it. Moving closer. This Thai chili pepper is continuing to do well. If you look in there, there's some fruit hanging, and there's some fruit hanging down there. This is the one that we actually planted last year and grew indoors all winter. These buckets have probably been overused and the soil's not doing well. So you can see I've got a few tomatoes on this plant. There's some tomatoes over there. And this one in back has produced absolutely nothing. Looking a little closer at this raised bed, we planted like 3 seeds in each spot to get our okra started for the summer. It's okra season here in Texas, and those are starting to come up. And then in back, I planted some beans, none of which seem to have come up, and we're keeping those bok choy plants just to get the seeds from them. Moving down a little bit, I've got a bell pepper there, and if we look close, they're actually starting to produce fruit. Pretty good looking fruit. And then in the front row here we have eggplant. The eggplant doesn't seem to be producing very well. That giant bush there is actually a cherry tomato, and it needs to be harvested and pruned. And that's another tomato that's just not doing well. My late start chard through there are about to the point I can start harvesting leaves off them. If we step over here, this is more beans growing. So these are bush beans. I'm just using bush beans kind of as a cover crop. I planted potatoes along this edge, and it looks like absolutely nothing has come up except... No, that's a bean. These onions were originally intended for scallions, but they're bulbing up. So I'm just periodically harvesting them as the tops fall over. And at the end, if you see these going all over the place, that is our sweet potatoes. And this was started from a couple sweet potatoes that we got at HEB, our local grocery store. And we'll see how we go for actually getting fruit off this, but it's at least producing a lot of leaves. Over here, move around this bucket so you can see from the other side. Not having the sun blocking. Okay, these buckets here, 1, 2, 3, 4, are moringa. It's a Filipino tree. Now these should get to be about 15 feet tall. The problem is they can't tolerate a freeze at all. So these are pretty much going to die in February or December, whenever we get our first freeze, and we're not going to get any fruit off them, but the leaves are edible, so my wife's been eating the leaves. This next set of buckets here used to be my garlic. I harvested that. It wasn't particularly productive, so I'm probably not going to do garlic again. And as you can see, there's bush beans growing in that bucket, and I got another bean plant growing in that bucket. And that's just using beans as a cover crop again. Fix the nitrogen in the soil. Same thing there. We pulled the watermelon that wasn't doing very well and put bean seeds down, and a few of them are coming up, and it's mostly weeds in this. That second smaller one, same thing, planted beans in it, but that looks like it's mostly weeds. Here is my year-old chard plants. I'm probably going to harvest whatever I can out of this, dehydrate it all, and then start over again next year. These survived the big freeze last winter when it got down to 15 degrees. I think these actually came from my house in Austin when I moved out here, so it's time to move on and kill them off and eat them. Next bed here, we've got chili peppers. Now, most of these were planted as serranos, and I have no idea what I'm getting, because like that looks like a serrano pepper, That looks like a banana pepper. I've got banana peppers growing over there, way at the end in another raised bed. So I don't know if those cross-pollinated or not. And I've also got some Thai chilies planted in here. You can see those. And some of my Thai chilies are bigger than they should be. So I'm wondering if those are crossing with the serranos somehow. And if we walk down here, this is mostly banana peppers and some habaneros mixed in. And once again, I think they're probably crossing, but you can see, like, there's my habaneros, which aren't turning, you know, they're green still. They aren't, well, that one's getting a little bit of color down there. And then down at the end of that bed, this is kind of just where I put my leftover tomatoes. So this is almost entirely cherry tomatoes. And as you can see, they're producing. I'm getting fruit off these. You can see the bits of red in there, and there's some more over there. I don't have enough tomato cages, so I literally just stuck sticks in the ground and tied them up to the sticks, which didn't actually work too well. And the tomatoes kind of fell over, and honestly, I have no idea how many tomato plants are in that mess of bushes. And the same thing at the end, I have no idea how many plants are there. Just kind of and this next bed here is supposed to be my tomatoes. Now, in reality, my tomato seeds didn't do well initially, so my wife filled in with eggplant. The eggplant does not seem to be doing well. I got all these yellowing leaves, and I've tried fertilizing it. It doesn't seem to make any difference. And like a couple variety of eggplants, I can see these blown in the wind, but like that one there is doing okay. And some of these are just looking really bad. Now, this tomato here is an heirloom tomato variety. I'm not going to do that again, I don't think, because I basically planted 20 seeds, got 2 seedlings, put them out here. One of them almost immediately died, and this tomato has produced 2 fruits, both of which were rotten by the time I could get to them, as opposed to like the heirloom or the hybrid tomatoes over here. And you can see this guy's got a bunch of fruits just in there. Yeah, it needs to be pruned later. Pruning tomatoes is a constant thing. But the hybrid tomatoes here, whatever variety these are still producing pretty well. Because the tomato down there, that one's covered in tomatoes. So I need to prune these, obviously, because these dead leaves need to come off. But it's still producing pretty well. I'm not going to do these short tomato cages again. I need taller tomato cages. So next year I'm going to get cages that are about that height. Or the tallest I can get, honestly. But overall, not too bad for this part of the year. Now, we're going to summer here in Texas. It's been over 100 degrees every day for the last week. And probably going to get worse. Sorry about the sunlight. So that's kind of basically our growing seasons. We grow in the spring, we grow in the fall, and I'm just trying to keep these plants alive until fall so they can produce more. And we also have watering restrictions down here, so I can only water twice a week. You know, it is what it is. They seem to be doing okay though. I just need to prune them a little bit. So, once again, if you haven't started a garden, I'd highly recommend it. If nothing else, you get to wear a cool hat. Also, homemade salsa is amazing.